In the US, about 40% of all the food never gets eaten. And that's everything from food lost on the farm all the way through to the potatoes left on your breakfast platter. Food is either going to a landfill or getting burned in an incinerator. Food is the #1 product in American landfills today.
In 2012, 34 million tons of food, a lot of reusable food was thrown away in the United States.
When you contrast that with the fact that there are over 800 million people around the world who are still food insecure, at the same time, 1 in 6 Americans is considered food insecure. It's really kind of a moral tragedy.
There is a huge consequence to deal with the societal problem of hunger, but also it has a huge consequence in terms of the environment.
If food waste were a country, it would rank 3rd in terms of its greenhouse gas emissions.
Methane is a huge climate change problem, and that landfills are a tremendous contributor to that methane, which is 10 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
The truth is, when you get into it, you're really kind of talking about any inefficiency of the whole food system.
This is Florida Market. Florida Market is where maybe half of the small ethnic restaurants in Washington, D.C. get their food. We're about half a mile from the U.S. Capitol. It's a very light industrial area. There are butchers, there are wholesalers, there are produce sellers. If you come here at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll find oodles of wasted food. And the problem is this: food goes to waste because it's expensive to transport and to keep cold. If you don't have an immediate buyer for it, the easiest and the most business responsible thing to do is to throw it away. Food Cowboy is essentially an air traffic control system for orphan food. I see you right there. I see you right there. So what'll happen today is a trucker will back up into a field. Workers will fill it with melons, and then he'll make maybe 5 stops in 3 states, and he has about 36 hours to do that. It's going to hit traffic. The next customer will be angry. So everyone is under a lot of pressure to move food quickly and efficiently without any delay. Sometimes there's a sensor in the truck, and the sensor will alert the buyer that the temperature's been out of whack for a certain period of time. The buyer will then call the shipper or the trucker and say, "Don't burn your fuel, don't waste your time coming to town, I don't want it." So what growers say is, if you can't sell the food right away, then get rid of it. They don't get paid for food that people won't buy. The food is perfectly fine. If a purchaser doesn't want to take the food, they don't have to. That means that the farmer has very little purchasing power. If we stopped wasting food, the American economy would go into cardiac arrest.
A lot of people in America are they spoiled. It's an upbringing like thing. They're so used to going to the Safeway, going to the town, getting anything they want. You know, people are really suffering. But America, everybody's, they spoiled. They're used to getting what they want to get. They don't understand what it is to really, really do without. Because, it's the land of opportunity.
We wouldn't be able to do what we do without the amount of food that's wasted, but it really feels like a crime.
Fresh meat, good fresh meat. We do like over 100,000 pounds within a month. This is a big truck. We have 3 of these. Then we have 2 small trucks. So we have enough trucks to bring it in. So we bring in a lot of food, a lot of food.
MANNA is the food bank for Montgomery County, Maryland. We travel to 50 grocery stores in the county Monday through Friday, and we're picking up produce, dairy products, items off the shelf. There is perfectly good food that is brought in here from grocery stores, from farmers markets, that would otherwise go into a compost bin or into a trash. It makes me very angry to see the amount of really good food that's brought in here, either because it has a little bit of a blemish, so people when we see it in the grocery store, we wouldn't purchase it, or it's because the date on the package is such that people think that it is no longer safe to consume. But there's not a lot of education done to let people know that that is just a best by date, a date that indicates quality, not safety. And so the fact that we can keep food on the shelf and then throw it away and it's not getting to people says something about our society and the way we don't really value the work that's done by the people that produce the food and the value of the life of people who aren't getting access to it.
DC Central Kitchen is based on a very simple premise, and that premise is waste is wrong. So all of this delicious product is being plowed back under or tossed in a compost heap just because it's aesthetically or geometrically challenged in such a way that it has little or no commercial value because it doesn't fit in the right box, fits in the right truck, in the right bin at the grocery store. I got in front of about 100 local farmers. I said, we will buy from you every piece of fruit that you can't sell because it doesn't look right. And the room burst into laughter. It turns out that the amount of that food is so mind-blowingly large that it would be practically impossible. We still can't touch the vastness of what's out there.
So all this food that would normally be thrown in the garbage or wasted, we've now processed this food and we've frozen it and prepared it so that we can get this food in the hands of our most vulnerable citizens here in the nation's capital.
We invite people in to work with us 365 days a year. We want people to see the product that we're using, that it's not bad stuff, that it's not stuff that is dangerous to eat, that this is really good, healthy food that otherwise would end up in the dumpster. But where we're really focusing now, and where the more insidious waste is at the beginning of the food system, particularly on independent farms. 40 to 60% of what's grown on independent farms never makes it off the farm because it's the wrong size.
Gleaning is, harvesting leftover crops that are left in the field that are going to get plowed under, and farms invite us to come out to recover that leftover food. We were at Butler's Orchard, which is a pick-your-own orchard, and today we're going to be picking strawberries. These are strawberries that customers have not picked. They're left in the field, and if we didn't come through today, they would have been plowed under by the farmer. So we thank you for coming out to help rescue these strawberries. All the berries are going to come back to DC Central Kitchen, where they're going to be made into our meals that we send out every day. We send out about 5,000 meals every day using about 75% donated product. So let's grab some bins and let's go pick some strawberries. A funny looking strawberry is just as nutritious as a perfect red one in the fields. I would venture to say these strawberries, because they're smaller and more nutritionally dense, are probably even sweeter and better tasting than the ones you're going to find in the supermarket.
It's hard to get a lot of city people to understand that this is a crop. It grows from middle of June to the middle of July, and then it's over, you can't get any more. Most people in outer suburbs, inner cities, have no connection left with the food that's made. They've never seen a cherry tree, a blueberry bush, a strawberry plant. You go to a grocery store, people just think it's always there.
I don't think we're going to be able to invent our way out of this problem because it is at its core behavioral.
There is definitely enough food produced in this country to go around so that everyone can be fed. The fact that it is not distributed in an equitable manner is the crime. And it's about poverty. It's about distribution of wealth, really, more than it is lack of sufficient food supply.
I think we waste a lot of food because, quite frankly, we're sort of lazy. We, as Americans, have been incredibly fortunate to be part of a food system that is abundant and cheap. And this sort of sets us apart, I think, from a lot of other countries across the world.
I think if you really dig down to what's going on here, it's that people don't value their food, and they don't value it in the way we used to back in our grandparents' day and even today in other parts of the world.
We know that if you throw away food, you lose the invested energy, the invested fertilizer, the invested manpower that goes into producing food.
A gal recently told me this story about dumpster diving and taking bread from behind a bakery into her workplace every day. So every day she'd show up with a few loaves. And one day her coworker from Kerala, India asked, "How do you afford to bring us the bread every day?" And she said, "Oh, well, actually, I get it from behind this bakery." And the woman said, "Well, but do the police know?" And she said, No, I'm sure to go when the police are not there." And the coworker looked at her and said, No. So the police know that they're throwing the bread away. And I thought, yes, that is a society, that is the mindset that we need if we're really gonna not be wasting food.